happen. So taking all of these lessons learned, are we able to act on those in the future? Have those suggestions, those solutions been identified? And how can we put those into practice?
White House officials initially prepared reporters for data indicating a slowdown in growth, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics report marked a significant increase from 372,000 jobs added in the month of June. In marking a week of political wins, Biden took a victory lap on lower gas prices, as costs at the pump have declined for 50 straight days. Still, Biden acknowledged that a lot of Americans are still feeling the pain of inflation. He stated, "I know people will hear today extraordinary jobs report and say they don't see it. I know how hard it is. It's hard to feel good about job creation when you already have a job and you're dealing with rising prices. But the good news is that more relief could be coming soon. From the Inflation Reduction Act, that is. It is a $740 billion bill the Democrats are passing through the fast-track process of reconciliation. Now, the president is also trying to get more relief passed for the American people. During a virtual business roundtable, the president pleaded with Congress to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, saying it was a bipartisan support among people of the country. Biden said, "My message to Congress is this: listen to the American people. This is the strongest bill you can pass to lower inflation, continue to cut the deficit, reduce healthcare costs, and tackle climate crisis and promote energy security." Folks, big changes have already been approved that will help millions of Americans financially. Lawmakers have finally reached an agreement on a brand new batch of relief checks. $200 bonus checks will be sent out starting in just a few weeks. And here's some breaking news on this. The Indiana governor, who called for a special session in late June to utilize the state's $1 billion surplus for inflation relief, said he is pleased with the bill that had passed, and which has also gone several changes over the past 2 weeks. To date, under this bill, every taxpayer in Indiana will receive a $200 tax refund. The amount is down by $25 from the initial proposal in order to include those receiving Social Security and disability benefits. The taxpayer refund is in addition to the state's automatic taxpayer refund, which began being issued in the spring. Qualifying taxpayers receive $125 each for that separate payment. For those who have yet to receive this $125 check, if the bill is signed, they will be sent a $325 check, which will also include the newly passed proposed $200 refund. And for residents of Indiana who did not make enough to file taxes, they can file a return for 2022.
And it was from that conversation that he also made an invitation for me to come and visit with you. And so I'm here today to thank you, because the people at this table are not only local and state leaders, you are national leaders on the front lines of one of the most critical issues facing our country. I want to thank Representative Carson for joining me and flying in with me today, and for your leadership in Washington, D.C., representing the people of the state of Indiana. As has been said, the United States Supreme Court, in the Dobbs decision, took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, the women of America. Let's contemplate what that means in and of itself.
Scott Nations, welcome. It's always good to have you here. Why do you think this market is on thin ice, if that's a phrase I can use, and what happens next week that may confirm that?
Tyler, I think much of the rally from the bottom, while impressive, was really phony. And it came because rates finally decided to ease a little bit. And why did rates ease? I think it's because we got fixated on gasoline prices. We saw gasoline prices come back a little bit. And while that made it a whole lot easier to fill up the car, gasoline, Tyler, is only 5% of the CPI basket. If you look at other components, food is 3 times that, and food is expected to increase this year by about 10%. Housing is 8 times, and Case-Shiller was up 10% year to date in May. And then look at what the Fed is likely to do, what Chairman Powell is likely to say in Jackson Hole, and what they're likely to do the rest of the year. We expect another 125 basis point increase in the Fed funds rate by the end of December. And so even though the 10-year yield is still at 3%, good luck hanging on to that level if we add another 125 basis points to the Fed funds rate. And that's all really, really, really tough for stocks.
Yeah, so you think another 125 basis points. are you then suggesting a half point in September?
$1,400 to people receiving Social Security. Folks, I definitely agree with this, and I think it's a great idea for President Biden to send out more stimulus checks and increase the Social Security benefits before it gets too late. And if you guys agree, tell me in the comments down below. Right now, the legislation is quickly making its way through the Colorado legislature. It would ensure that all 5.8 million people in Colorado will get their refund check. This definitely isn't something that's promised every year, as these extra refunds are only given out if the state has excessive revenue to dispense of. Now, the governor said in an official statement that $400 will help people right now, and gas at $4 a gallon is not good. Groceries costing more, inflation is unlike we have seen in a long time, and because of where the inflation is, we see it in gas and we see it in grocery stores. We see it in the cost of housing. Once the bill passes everybody in the state of Colorado, the extra refunds will go out to 6 to 9 months, earlier than the year prior. The checks are mailed directly to citizens, and the new method of calculating these extra refunds will put more money into income households. Now, the Colorado senator has also said that if the state revenue exceeds inflation and population growth, whatever amount is excess above that needs to be returned to the taxpayer. These refunds will go out 6 to 9 months earlier than years prior. Nancy Pelosi has also said the House of Representatives will now consider 2 pieces of legislation to ease the baby formula shortage. Pelosi told ABC News that some Democrats are putting together an appropriations bill that would allow the U.S. to purchase formula overseas. So folks, we have a ton of good news about Social Security benefits, SSI and Ssdi. Continue watching this video to not miss out on this. A ton of good news is here, everybody. Be sure to keep watching.
In energy, he placed a moratorium on new drilling, canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, supported canceling oil leases in Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico. And this week, it's reported that he is moving to ease the energy sanctions on Venezuela. The United States of America is the leading producer of oil and gas. It's cleaner and abundant. American workers and companies are eager to start producing more at home. Why are we increasing energy imports from places like Venezuela to offset the disastrous results of shutting down American energy? Republicans have put forward solutions. We've introduced the American Energy Independence from Russia Act. I'm co-leading this legislation with the ranking member of Resources, Bruce Westerman. It would lower cost, protect our national security by flipping the switch and unleashing American energy. Just this week, unfortunately, the Democrats blocked for the 6th time the vote on this legislation. Instead of doing what's necessary to meet energy demands, President Biden and congressional Democrats are distracting by this bill. The American people are not falling for it. President Biden's own energy secretary said, quote, "I'm not sure anyone is saying there's wholesale gouging."
Good, and the stock market hasn't hurt them that much, and their home prices haven't fallen. That may all happen, but if it doesn't, that's going to be still a pretty healthy consumer through Christmas.
Steve, you used to run a retailer. If you were running one right now, looking at this environment and all the uncertainty ahead, what would you be doing? What would concern you most?
Yeah, so, I think the question is, where is inventory?